Okay, hello everybody. Uh, I'm happy to meet you here in the machine learning online workshop using Galaxy. Uh, I'm Alireza from Freiburg University, and in this lecture, I'm going to talk a little bit about machine learning and a short and brief overview of machine learning techniques. Of course, I can't dive into the details because I have only 30 minutes, but I'm trying to cover more of the aspects and the theory behind that you will use in your future lectures. Sorry. Okay. The contents of my lecture is first the basic idea of the machine learning, and I will ask three most important questions: why we use machine learning, what is machine learning, and when we are trying to use machine learning methods. I will introduce some applications of machine learning, and the variants of machine learning techniques includes regression, classification, clustering, and at the end, I will talk a little bit about how we can apply these machine learnings in Galaxy. In many tasks, we have some objects. We have a given object, and we are going to predict based on this object. For example, the question is the patient diabetic or not? We have some data about the patients, and we are going to predict if this patient diabetic or not. So in our task, we have a data. We have two approach in order to handle the data and do a best prediction. The first one is expert-defined approach. It was very common in the previous years, and we call it expert systems. In the expert-defined, we are going to acquire knowledge from the expert, build our knowledge base using these expertise, and implement engines, inference engines, in order to handle this knowledge. So the non-expert user can easily ask the question from this expert system, and by using this inference engine and knowledge embedded in the expert system, we can advise them and do the prediction. But the second approach that we are going to talk in machine learning, it is data-driven approach. The goal of machine learning is to build this prediction function by observing data, so we don't need knowledge from the experts. Of course, we can hybrid or combine the expert knowledge with our machine learning, but in theory, machine learning tries to build this prediction only by observing this data. Why we are using the machine learning? As you know, we have a rapid advances in data collection and storage technology in the last decade. And extracting useful information from these bunch of knowledge, bunch of data is a challenging challenge. And we need an approach in order to best extract knowledge and useful patterns and useful information from these huge data sets. And the problem is traditional analysis and traditional techniques based on the data, based on statistics and database query systems cannot handle these huge data. And these days, we have a very good progress in algorithms and the theory behind this algorithm. So the question is, why would we want to learn the function from data instead of just implementing it. As I told you, there is a function that you can use in order to predict from the data. But usually, because we don't really know how to write down this function by hand, we use some algorithm and method in order to best estimate this function. And it is the role of machine learning. So in machine learning, we give computer the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed, because we don't have enough knowledge about the program or about the problem or task. So we implement an algorithm or method in order to give this ability to the machine. As you see in this block diagram, we apply some machine learning algorithm to data in order to define the learned model. You see, there are two different parts in the machine learning algorithms. At the first part, we are going to train a model. We use the data. In order to build a model and learn a model, and in the prediction phase, we apply the learned model to data in order to predict. We will see in more details in the future. When we use machine learning, there are some important factors in the problem that we can use machine learning in such cases. For example, in solving complex problem, when we have a huge amount of data but a little theory behind them. There's a diverse AI applications right now, and we are getting from knowledge-based reasoning to learning and discovering novel knowledge from this huge amount of data. When we need generalization, it is a time we can go to the machine learning approach. Because machine learning can infer models that are capable of generating a good result in new contexts, and then they are always reliable and accurate. When we are going to predict under uncertainty, because in real problems always we have uncertainty. Some of the uncertainty is the nature of the problem, as some of the uncertainty comes from lack of knowledge about the whole system, and we don't know the entire mechanism of the problem. So we can use machine learning to predict models under this uncertainty. And also there are some tasks that we are going to handle some high throughput data in order to extract useful information. For example, in bioinformatics, when you are handling the gene expression data, there are huge data, high throughput data, and we are going to extract information in order to predict or do whatever we want with this data. There are different, the application of machine learning are different, and it is not just for the bioinformatics. There are a variety of applications, and I can categorize some of them in computer vision applications and image recognition in order, for example, face recognition can be an example of machine learning in computer vision, and we want to find the face in an image. In natural language processing, we can use machine learning techniques in order to summarize the text, in order to text processing or automatic translation. In speech processing, there are different categories for speaker verification and identification, speech recognition, speech synthesis. Also in robotics for robot mapping and playing games, you see chess or deep blue computer for playing games against human. And also in bioinformatics, we have different areas that we can use machine learning. For example, for protein structure prediction, drug response prediction, gene prediction, and even with the biomedical images in order to analyze the image and mm, find, for example, tumor in biomedical images. We can apply machine learning and especially computer vision algorithm for biomedical image analysis. The classical machine learning workflow starts with the raw data. In our lab or in or experiment or experiments, we have a raw data. Most of the time, we need to do pre-processing in this data in order to clean data, because raw data maybe have some noise, have unknown values, and we need to do some pre-processing in order to overcome this noise. Maybe you have some outliers in raw data. And after we do pre-processing, we will have clean data. Clean data is important because we can do feature extraction on this clean data. In feature extraction, we extract the useful feature in our problem. Maybe all of the features, all of the value in this data are not useful for us for the machine learning purpose. So we have a feature extraction phase that we extract the features and using this feature in order to train a model in the training phase. And after we build the model, we can apply the model to predict or to new unknown data in order to extract the targets. And also we have some way in order to evaluate our model or results or visualize the results to the further analysis. So we have four important steps in machine learning: pre-processing, feature engineering, model selection, and evaluation. In a learning phase, always we need two data sets. First, for the training part, and the second for the test parts. So the data sets split to training and test parts. And learn will happen on training part, and we keep the test part in order to evaluate the model in the last step. For the machine learning algorithm, we have different variants, but we can categorize them into the three broad categories. The first one is supervised algorithm. In the supervised algorithm, supervised machine learning techniques, we are going to learn with a labeled training sets. For example, classification will be one of the example of this supervised learning. When you want to classify your emails or you detect the spam from the normal emails, it is a classification, and the label data is that is this email spam or it is a normal email. But in unsupervised data, we don't have a label at all, and we are going to discover patterns in unlabeled data. For example, clustering is a popular or common methods for this unsupervised, or maybe the dimension reduction methods. We want to cluster similar documents in one cluster. And the third category is reinforcement learning. In reinforcement learning, we learn to act, and we need some feedback or reward. And it is a very popular method in the games. For example, how we can learn to play Go or reward. And the goal is we are going to win or lose. So this feedback and reward and a function for the learn can help us to improve the act in order to get the goal. I mean, win in this situation. In supervised and unsupervised learning, we have the different categories. In supervised learning, we have two different tasks, classification and regression. And in unsupervised, we have a clustering, dimension reduction, and association. What we will cover in this week is classification, regression, and clustering. Two of them are supervised learning, and one of them is unsupervised. So let's take a brief look at these three categories. It is a simple question for regression. How much should you sell your house for? If you want to best estimate the price of your house, you need to have some data. This input data is the house and the feature of the house. The feature can be a size of a house or the price for the simplicity. And what we are going to learn is a relationship between these features and price. So the size, how we can say, how is the relationship between the size and price of the house? This is a model, this is a regression model, and we are going to find the best curve to fit these data. So we can use this curve in order to predict the new home or your home price. And as you see, the price of your home is a continuous value. The second category of supervised learning is a classification. For example, is it a cat or dog? You have a data set with cat and dogs, and you learn the model as you see here, and we want to know the relationship between the features and value, and the value is the label of this data, maybe 0 or 1, -1 or +1. Either it is cat or dog. And the task of machine learning to find this line in order to divide these to two categories or two classes. We call it classification. And if we find this line or the boundary line, for the new case, we can predict if it is cat or not. And it is a classification. The third problem is clustering. In clustering, we don't know how many classes or clusters do you have. And the simple example is image segmentation. You have an image and you want to segment this image into different non-homogeneous area. So as an input, you have a raw pixels. You want to separate X into the different clusters, and the output is a cluster label, for example, Z for each pixel. So the number of clusters are not defined in the clustering tasks, but in classification, we know that we have two classes or any classes. Machine learning makes some tasks automatic, but still we need experts. Still we need our brains, because we should define the tasks, terminology, and also evaluating matrices, how we can evaluate our model. And when we are creating data for machine learning, we need to annotate them, labeling, and we need experts to annotate them. And for feature engineering, for extracting feature or selecting the best relevant features, we need these experts. And also, when we apply the model for prediction or whatever task, which we need to analyze the error and analyze the results. So this automatic machine learning uh, does not mean we don't need the expert at all. We need, but in different way. What's the goal of this workshop? As you see, we have different steps in the classical machine learning workflow. In this workshop, we are going to talk with machine learning methods using the demonstrations, and we will learn how we can create models and set the parameters and apply to the real case problems. And also we have to talk about feature selection and hyperparameter optimization on Wednesday and Friday, because they are very important in this workflow. But we are not going to talk about pre-processing, unfortunately. But you should know it is very important and it is very task specific. And for each task, we have different nodes and different pre-processing steps to obtain clean data from raw data. And this workshop is about how we can use and apply these machine learning tools in Galaxy. Fortunately, these years, we develop some tools, some machine learning tools, and integrate in the Galaxy. So it is possible that you easily use machine learning tools in your workflow and combine them with your uh, pipelines and data analysis. For example, if you are doing RNA-seq data analysis and you need to classify something, if you are doing single cell analysis and you want to cluster cells in different clusters, it is possible that you apply this clustering and in general machine learning tools in Galaxy. And recently, it is possible you use some deep learning approach and build deep learning models and learn this model in Galaxy and use it to predict your data. You can access to this Galaxy machine learning workbench with this URL ml.usegalaxy.eu, and we are trying to categorize the tools. Some tools are for clustering, for classification, for regression, for visualization. And also we have a link to all of the training materials related to machine learning, and you can you can easily have an access to them and follow them step by step. Using Galaxy in order to apply machine learning give us the opportunity to create a workflow and pipelines, and this workflow can be rerun with the new data and can be combined with the other workflow or the other pipeline that you are analyzing in your whatever research you are doing. And you can share this workflow with your collaborators, or you can publish it in your paper if you want. After the break, we have a break after this talk, and after this break, we will go to the demonstration part, and as the first demonstration, we are going to use regression tools in order to solve a real case problem in Galaxy. If you have any question, please keep in your mind. We have a question answering day tomorrow, and I'm available tomorrow, and I'm happy to answer your question or assist you with your problems. Thank you for your attention. After a break, I will back to you with the regression demonstration. Enjoy your break and coffee. Thanks.